Welcome back, everybody. It's Rama from Junk Journal Divas. Hello, my friends. So today I'm making these tags, and I'm kind of starting with the finished product, and then I'm going to show you how I made them. But this is doing my Divas Bingo. This is my Diva Delight project for the month for June, and these are going to be what I send out. So in this video, I'm doing washi, yellow, buttons, lace, and photo. So I wrote it on a little piece of paper so that I could have this while I was creating. But so you can see here, I've got the washi tape I put at the corners of all the photos. Yellow, I have buttons, and then I guess I also have gold that could be considered yellow. And then the buttons, got some here. We've got lace all over. I layered lace, and then I put just some additional pieces on, like little pieces here. These are from my embellishment packages that are in my shop. You guys, those embellishment packages are fantastic. I should have more in my shop soon. So I did the lace, and then in the photo, and I did some messy sewing around it. And then after that, I backed it again, and then I sewed around the edges so that the back was not all messy, and you could actually use it for some writing space. And we've got this one, and you guys, I'm so proud of myself for sticking to this neutral color palette lately. Because it's so hard for me to do. I love color so much. And then I also went in to grunge up these photos. If you can, I don't know if you can see with the glare, but I used the Tim Holtz, those sanding pads, and I just put it on my mini thing because that's what was empty. But they're just little sanders, so I just kind of go in and grunge up my photos. Here's the other one. Make today amazing. Collect beautiful moments and live your story. So let's get going here. This is a short video. I'm just showing the process. So let's get started. Things that I'll be playing with today, these are Tim Holtz photos that I have. So I picked 3 of them. I thought I'll make 3 tags. Got my washi tape, and I grabbed just a bunch of lace that's here by on my desk. So to start out, I have some backgrounds here, but they're white, and I just wanted to add a little bit of color, and I love using my distress crayons for that. Now these tags do have a layer of matte medium down, so any kind of, if you do matte medium, or if you do even just a layer of glue like Mod Podge or something, it will seal the paper, and it allows the movement of the crayon so you can smudge it. So I'm smudging it right now, but I'm going to also, I just wanted to make sure it was smudged a little bit more than this. So I'm using my water, just 1 spritz, and you can see how much easier the movement is. And then I'll dry these. So this was just to, it's going to be covered up with lace, but just to kind of get some color down there first. And then I'll bring in my pieces of lace, and I'm just going to chop them up. I always say, don't be afraid to chop up your stuff. So just laying down a couple of pieces. I have white, and then I have some tea and coffee dyed, so various shades of brown and vintage kind of colors. So I'm going to do the white first, and then I can lay some of those brown pieces on top. So the photos, I'm being really rough with these because I wanted them to look vintage. So I'm going around the edges, but I'm kind of squeezing the photo as I do it, so I'm just being really rough as I do this. And then I'm going to use my little sanding disc from the Tim Holtz sanding disc and just kind of grunge up around the edges of these a little bit. These are really great to grunge stuff up. Now I did have just a little sanding block. I kind of added a little piece of sandpaper to, it was actually an old stamp that was my girl's, and I just added a little bit of sandpaper. So whatever it is that you have. In this photo, it kind of ripped a little bit. So if you saw, I just fixed it by adding a little bit of glue because I didn't want it to be that grungy. So now I can add my brown pieces, and instead of tearing this, I'm cutting around the little, because they look like flowers, and I wanted to make sure that I kept that look. So I'm cutting around. I usually tear everything because I love the rough edges. So we've got our lace layers. I'll add some more, but for right now, this is good, I think. So I've got my photos, and then what I want to do is I want to go around this and do some messy sewing. So I'm going to glue this stuff down, and then I will do some messy sewing just going around the photo, and that will hold everything down also. And I love the look of messy sewing. And then after I get all of my things down and I do the sewing, then I will add something to the back of it, and I can kind of go around the edges and do sewing again, hold everything together, but that will make sure that the back of my tag isn't all messy. Because when you do the messy sewing, it's messy on the back. So I'm using my 3-in-1 glue for everything here, just since I am working with all of this lace, make sure everything's going to stick. And then for my washi, I'm just gluing little pieces down on 2 of the corners of my photos, adding just a little bit of glue for that. I usually use my Art Glitter brand glue for everything, but some of this stuff is a little bit thicker that I'm working with today, so that's why I decided to move to my 3-in-1. So once I get all of this stuff down, then I'm going to go through my sewing machine, and I'm just kind of doing circles around the photo. So here is a look at what I did going with my sewing machine. You can see it's just really messy circles going around the photo. So now I can kind of add some other elements, little pieces of lace, add my sentiments. And in the last video, I stamped a whole bunch of sentiments. I have a lot of the stamps and I always forget about them. So I'm using those, and I am going to back them with black cardstock. So I've got those to glue down, and then I found these yellow buttons, so that takes care of 2 of my prompts. Yellow and buttons, so I have all of my prompts already. And now I'm just kind of adding little extra pieces of things. I have some little applique pieces that are in my embellishment packs, and some of these flowers. So just adding little tiny layers now, the little finishing touches. Glue on my sentiments, and then I don't show in the video. I thought I was recording, but it wasn't actually recording, but it's pretty easy, guys. I just glued the tags down on another piece of cardstock and sewed around the very edges of them. So I hope you guys join me and play some Diva Bingo. If you want to see the bingo card, I am posting it. So if you go on my channel and go to community, you can see all the posts that I made, and I'll have the picture there. It's also in Junk Journal Divas, of course. I just love playing with prompts. It's a lot of fun. It's especially great if you're just kind of uncertain where to start. It seems to, every time I take a break, if I go on vacation or if it's a holiday, I have a hard time getting started again. So it's great to play with some prompts. So if you join me, please do share your creation and which prompts you used. Now here I am using my hot glue because these circles are kind of thick. And then I decided, let me just put some glue in the center of that circle and I can press my button into it. Because these buttons are the ones that, you know, they stick out a little bit. So it actually worked out perfect because now they're flat, not wobbling around. And then just to add a few extra little buttons, some brown buttons, and I'm using my glue, hot glue again. So here are my finished tags. I love the way that they turned out. And like I said, this is such a different look for me, this really vintage look, because I usually create with all the color and my sari silks. So this has been fun. This has been kind of a challenge for me. I went from my bead journals, which were also, you know, a more neutral color palette, and kind of got me on a roll and got me out of my comfort zone. So thank you so much for joining me today, and stay tuned for some more Divas Bingo.